Welcome back, folks, to another spine-chilling episode of Chilling Encounters, where we dive deep into the eerie, the unexplained, and the downright terrifying. I'm your host, Big Jim, and today we've got a story that's sure to send shivers down your spine. We're headed to a small, quiet town in Florida called Cassadaga, home of one of the most infamous legends in the Sunshine State. We're talking about the Devil's Chair. A place that's as mysterious as it is terrifying. A place where the boundary between our world and something much darker seems all too thin. Cassadaga is known as the psychic capital of the world. A place where the veil between the living and the dead is said to be thinner than anywhere else. It's a town steeped in mysticism, where psychics and mediums outnumber the regular folk, and stories of spirits and hauntings are as common as the Spanish moss hanging. But even in a place like this, there's one legend that stands out above the rest: the tale of the Devil's Chair. The Devil's Chair is located in the Cassadaga Cemetery, a small, unassuming burial ground surrounded by the thick woods and the quiet of the Florida countryside. The cemetery itself is an eerie place, especially at night. The ancient oaks, draped in Spanish moss, cast long shadows over the crumbling tombstone, and the only sounds you hear are the distant hoot of an owl and the rustle of leaves in the wind. But amidst this peaceful, if not unsettling scene, lies a structure that has captured the imagination and fear of many who have visited the Devil's Chair. Now, this isn't just any chair. The Devil's Chair is an old, weathered brick structure that resembles a bench more than a traditional chair. It sits in a quiet solitude, surrounded by gravestones that date back more than a century. The chair itself looks unremarkable at first glance, just a simple, unadorned piece of cemetery furniture weathered by time and the elements. But the stories attached to this chair are anything but ordinary. The legend goes that if you dare to sit in the chair at midnight, the devil himself will appear to you. Some say he'll offer you a deal, a pact, in exchange for your soul. Others claim that he'll whisper dark secrets in your ear, revealing truths that no mortal should ever know. And still, others believe that the Devil's Chair isn't offering anything. He simply takes. Those who have sat in the chair often report feeling a sudden, overwhelming sense of dread, as if they're being watched by something unseen, something malevolent. Some visitors to the chair have claimed to hear strange noises, footsteps on the gravel path, when no one else is around, soft whispers carried on the wind, even the sound of something growling in the darkness. There are stories of people who have sat in the chair and felt an icy hand grip their shoulder, only to turn around and find nothing but empty air. And then there are those who have seen him, the devil himself, standing just out of sight, a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes, watching them with a cold, predatory gaze. One of the most chilling aspects of this legend is the fact that those who sit in the chair often leave with more than just a good ghost story. They carry something back with them: a curse, a lingering sense of unease, a string of bad luck that seems to follow them wherever they go. Some have reported terrifying nightmares that plague them for weeks after their visit. Others have experienced unexplained accidents, sudden illnesses, or a persistent feeling of being watched, even in the safety of their own homes. There is one story in particular that stands out. It's the tale of a local man, a skeptic who didn't believe in ghosts or devils or anything that couldn't be explained by logic and science. He had heard the stories about the Devil's Chair, and then decided to see for himself what the fuss was all about. He made his way to the cemetery one cold, moonlit night, just before midnight, and sat in the chair. For the first few minutes, nothing happened. The night was still quiet. The only sound, the soft rustle of the wind through the trees. But then, as the clock struck 12, something changed. He felt a sudden chill in the air, and the temperature seemed to drop several degrees in an instant. Then he heard it. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from behind him. He froze, too afraid to turn around, every muscle in his body tensing as the footsteps grew closer. He could feel something, someone, standing right behind him. And then he heard a voice. It was low and gravely, barely more than a whisper, but it was clear enough to said, "Leave this place or stay forever." The man didn't wait to see who or what was behind him. He jumped up and ran out of the cemetery as fast as he could, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't stop running until it was back in his car, and even then, he could feel the eyes of something watching him from the darkness. He never went back to Cassadaga, and to this day, he refuses to talk about what he experienced that night. But those who know him say that he has never been the same after his encounter with the Devil's Chair. There's another story about a group of teenagers who decided to visit the cemetery on a dare. It was supposed to be a bit of a harmless fun, a way to prove they were brave, or at least braver than their friends. They made their way to the cemetery one night, laughing and joking as they approached the chair. But as soon as they got close, the mood changed. The air felt thick and heavy, as if it were the very atmosphere was pressing down on them. The laughter died away, replaced by an uneasy silence. One of the boys, feeling particularly brave, decided to sit in the chair. And as soon as he did, the wind picked up, swirling around them with an unnatural force. They all heard it, a low, guttural growl that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a sound that sent chills down their spine, a sound that didn't belong in the world of the living. Terrified, they ran out of the cemetery, leaving the chair, and whatever was in it, far behind. The boy who sat in the chair later claimed that he felt something grab his shoulder as he sat down. But when he turned around, there was no one there. And then there's the story of a woman who visited the Devil's Chair, seeking answers from the other side. She too was a skeptic, someone who didn't believe in the supernatural, but she had lost a loved one and was desperate for some sort of closure. She had heard the stories about the chair and decided to give it a try, hoping, perhaps against her better judgment, that she might receive a sign, something to let her know that her loved one was okay. She sat in the chair and asked for a sign, anything to let her know that her loved one was at peace. For a long time, there was nothing. The cemetery was quiet. The night was still. But then, she felt it. An icy hand on her shoulder. Cold as death. She turned around, expecting to see someone standing behind her. But she was completely alone. Terrified, she fled the cemetery and vowed never to return. She later confided in a friend that she believed the hand was not her loved one, but something much darker. To this day, she is haunted by the memories of that cold touch, a reminder of the dangers of seeking answers in places where the living have no business being. These experiences highlight the intensity of the phenomena reported by many. It's one thing to hear the stories, but it's another to experience them firsthand. The Devil's Chair has a way of challenging our perceptions and testing our beliefs. As we wrap up our exploration of the Devil's Chair, it's clear that this seemingly innocuous object holds a significant place in Florida's folklore. Whether it's the result of an actual supernatural activity or simply a powerful collective belief, one thing is certain: the Devil's Chair commands attention and instills fear. So what do you think? Is the Devil's Chair a genuine portal to the dark unknown? Or just a tale spun from local legends and fears? We encourage you to visit Cassadaga, but remember, if you decide to sit in the chair, approach with caution. The supernatural is not something to be taken lightly. Before we sign off, make sure to like and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our thrilling episodes on Chilling Encounters. Share your thoughts and experiences with us in the comments below. Until next time, keep haunting those haunts.